Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is the next part in the ongoing story of Lori Vallows and Chad Daybell and the two missing children out of Idaho. This story is taking so many twists and turns from the time that these two children have disappeared that it's almost impossible to keep up with it unless you watch the news 24 hours a day. There are so many different news channels out there that are speculating upon this story, who are grasping for straws here and there all over the place. It's almost impossible to keep up with it. But I've got my notes here, and we'll go through them and see what is new in this case. So, first, when the kids are found, they will be turned over to the state of Idaho. That is part of the sealed court order that is now in place with the Child Protective and Welfare Department. They will be turned over to the state. They will not be handed over immediately to Kay Woodcock, the biological grandmother of JJ, until Kay Woodcock and her husband Larry can prove a couple of things for the state of Idaho. They can't just say, well, you know what, your biological grandmother, here's the children, you can have them. They will have to have first a court hearing. And at that court hearing, they must prove that they are able and they have a stable home for the children. They must be able to prove, first off, financially that they can take care of the children. This is not counting any death benefits that either one of the two children or both of the children may be receiving. They must prove that they have financial means to take care of them on their own, besides that, those death benefits. A home inspection of Kay and Larry's home must be done and prove that the children do have adequate living space within the home, and that they are able to prove that they can feed them, and there's sanitation and everything else. They won't just place them in anyone's home. And they will then, at that time, if they do determine that they are eligible to take care of these children, they check off all the boxes with Child Protective Welfare for their home there. They will then be granted a temporary custody of the children, not permanent custody. A temporary arrangement will be made. As of right now, today, the $20,000 reward that the Woodcocks are offering is still in effect. So if you happen to know where the children are, you can claim the $20,000 reward. There are a couple of other larger benefactors out there who have talked about adding to the $20,000 reward, but as of right now, the only official reward is the $20,000. There, as of right now today, there is still no bench warrant that has been issued for either Lori or for Chad Daybell. Have no charges pending in the state of Idaho, Hawaii, or anywhere else in the United States for either one of them for violating the demand by the state of Idaho to produce the children. It needs to be said again and reiterated that there was no court order that said if you don't return the children and produce the children, that you will be, charges will be filed against you. It is the option of the state of Idaho to file a contempt of court order for them not showing up with the children. But they basically, stuck their noses up to the state of Idaho and said, we're not going to do it. You can't really make us do anything. More of that here as we go on. Lori and Chad, as of today, are still in Hawaii. They are there still renting a condominium in the same resort community that they have been in all along. There was one night this past Saturday where both of them left the home. They were followed by the local police department, and they did stay the night at another couple's home, but they did return the following morning. The several different news stations in Hawaii are following them, along with independent news stations out of Idaho who are camping out there, trying to get any kind of interview or news on the what Lori and Chad plan on doing now that they've basically violated the court asking them to produce the children. Let's see next. Kobe Ryan, Lori Val's oldest son, has spoken out and basically said that he is done and he has tried everything, but he doesn't want anything to do with this, and he doesn't care what happens to his mother, especially after he saw the news footage of the two of them walking around in Hawaii, window shopping, going out to dinner, and being notified that the children are not with them at all. He says, I am done. I am so done and over with this entire case of what's going on, and I just don't care anymore. I mean, he certainly cares for his sister, Tylee, or T, and what happens to JJ. He wants to know where they are, but he just doesn't want to be involved, and he doesn't want to give any further statements to the authorities or to the news media out there about this case. He just wants it all to be done, and he wants his mom to produce, the two siblings. According to online publications, Chad's Daybell's Doomsday book, it was originally in its third print cycle, but because of all this media attention that has been going on, his book has been, selling out like hotcakes. The price has actually doubled on Amazon for the print paperback copy, and is now going into its fourth complete run to try to keep up with supply and demand. So, if nothing positive from this comes at all, Chad is making more money on his Doomsday Prophecy book. Kay and Larry have returned to their home. And they do plan to and have standby plans, so in case she ever does produce the children or produces herself back in Idaho, that they will be back there to confront her and to be there for anything that may come up in this case. But at this time, they have gone home and they're no longer waiting there in Rexburg for her to show up and do what she was supposed to do all along. The Facebook group that I had spoken about in the previous video, that was a closed group, and they're still there. They said that in a recent post that there may be as many as 144,000 followers of Lori Val's across the world, and that is completely unsubstantiated. That was just the posting and the common thread that people were talking about this past Sunday. That post of that said that there was 144,000 fans of Lori Val's went up about an hour before the Super Bowl on Sunday, and quite a few of them, commented and liked, the posting during the football game itself. So I kind of watched it a little bit, but I also watched the football game. Lori and Chad have, according to what I could gather from that Facebook group, Lori and Chad have ties to, this is going by the members, Arizona, Oregon, Washington State, Idaho, Montana, Utah, Alaska, and Iowa is where I could gather where these people were from, within that group. Now, how did I become a member of this group? It It was a group that started off as a preppers group. It did not start off as necessarily a group to support Lori Vallows or Chad Daybell. It started off as a preppers group, not a doomsday prepper group, but it's a group that started off as people who were interested in long-term preservation of food. And I joined the group, about a year and a half ago, because I like to can a lot of fruits and vegetables, because I just is who I am, and I I grow it, so why not preserve it? And I wanted to find out a better way to preserve certain fruits, instead of pickling them or putting them in jars. So that's why I joined the group. But they just happened to. It's over time. I just kind of ignored the group, and it kind of faded and changed into what it is now. According to former Idaho State Attorney General David Leroy, the failure to obey the court order to produce the children is typically in the state of Idaho considered a civil matter, unless it can be proven in court, and there must be a court issue. And court, they can do this in chambers, they can do this in an actual open court, unless they can prove that there is a willful disobedience of the court order. They can then upgrade it from a civil matter to a misdemeanor, which is still, in according to the state of Idaho, unlikely to be extraditable. The state of Idaho normally only extradites for the following reasons: treason, felonies, and other high crimes. It's in the state of Idaho state constitution when it comes to extradition. They only extradite normally for, it doesn't say normally, but it says for treason, felonies, and for other high crimes. Now, her not producing the children and thumbing her nose to the state is not, it would never qualify as a felony. It would not qualify under a treason or other high crimes. Is there a potential to do it? They have, as far as David Leroy has knows from all his time for practicing law in the state of Idaho, there has never been a single extradition of someone to the state of Idaho for willfully disobeying or woefully disobeying the court order to produce their children or to allow the child protective services into their home. This has never been proven, and has never been done. It would definitely set precedents if they were ever to do this. Now, in order for them to upgrade it to a misdemeanor, they must first prove the following: that there has been an additional crime. And the reason why they are refusing to produce the children or to allow child protective welfare into the home is because of another crime. At this time, even after searching their home there in Rexburg, there is no evidence that any additional crime has been committed within the home or outside of the home. And yes, they went as far as to dig up piles of snow in the front yard to look for possible blood evidence, trace evidence, or anything that may have been buried underneath the snowstacks in the front of the home. They did check the home inside and out, and from what I gather from Channel 7 KVVW, that they have also checked for blood spatter and other things using such methods as luminol to make blood spatter proven, or visible to them. And nothing has been found within the home. So if an additional crime has been committed, it didn't take place in the actual home. So right now, it just appears that right now, Lori Vallows and Chad Daybell are not wanting to cooperate for other reasons. Again, it could be further an extreme mistrust of the government and what the government is trying to do. They just very well may feel that they have done everything that they're supposed to do and are still doing everything that they're supposed to do as parents, but the government is intruding upon their lives. And if that's the case, they do have the right to, commit civil disobedience in this case, to not allow the government to intrude upon their lives and their privacy and their children's lives. Now, we still don't know, we have no evidence that the children have even left the city of Rexburg. There is zero proof that of anyone ever seen the children leave the city limits. They very well could be there. Again, a block, a mile, 2 miles, they could be gone. They could be in Arizona. They could be in Oregon. Yeah, because there's a lot of tips that showed that there was possible sightings at filling stations and the Oregon area, where they may be in Oregon, or they could be in Arizona, or again, they could be there in their own hometown with somebody else who has the same beliefs as Lori and Chad, that this is too much of an overreach by the government and intruding upon their lives. Now, that is just a possible side, what this all could be. We don't know. Right now, what we do know for sure is the children have not been produced. Lori and Chad are not in any hurry to leave the island. They're enjoying their time in Hawaii. There are stories on the news right now where Lori and Chad wanted to rent the room in someone's home. They filed an online application. It was accepted. That Chad said that he made $30,000 a month from being a writer and was looking for a home or a room to rent in Kauai to continue his writing. That there was even an interview with one lady who said she was going to rent a room to him, who then Chad changed his mind, and he spoke a little bit about his wife passing, who he said he woke up that morning and she had been dead for a couple hours. And again, I know it's suspicious that she died, and she was in very good health. Apparently, she was planning to run a marathon. That was up and coming, but it needs to be known also that she was planning to run a marathon and hadn't been exactly forthright with her doctors about that, and she was on medication for other medical issues, but and it very well could have been that something just went wrong. People die every day. Now, and when it comes to Lori's husband and the strange death of her brother who killed her husband, I mean, there's a lot of speculation about that as well. But that is where the news is today on the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell situation. Like I said, it's ongoing. It's taken more twists and turns and trying to follow and confirm, different stories that are coming in on this. But as it does, I will keep you updated. And thank you again for joining me. Don't forget, give this video a thumbs up if you like the content. Leave a comment down below. Share it with your friends. I appreciate it. You have a great day today.